And it's basically, what the approach is that companies use to manage a whole slate of projects to influence strategic plans, because ultimately all projects need to match up to the organization's strategic plan. Scott Johnson is a former president of this chapter. He has 25 years of IT experience, and he has led large project teams of over 150 team members and managed project budgets of over $20 million, so quite a good level of experience. He also was instrumental in bringing the project management certificate program to the University of Arkansas at Little Rock. He has spoken at national events, at local chapters, and universities. But his favorite thing to do is to speak to new hires about project management. So I'm going to give you Scott Johnson.
You got to love technology. We had some challenges today with technology. Didn't we? Yeah. But that's the world we live in, isn't it?
Here we go.
It's X-ray all of us.
X-ray vision?
All right, so I'm getting feedback from my HoloLens that you guys are a little bit apprehensive about this.
Just apprehensive about the things on your desk.
And for the folks on the phone, if you don't know, I'm wearing a HoloLens, and I can actually see some of the folks on the phone also, because we're tapped in. It's basically the computer on your head. So I tapped in through the security cameras, and I can see you looking around for the security cameras. So how many here have heard of HoloLens? Good. How many on the phone have heard of HoloLens? Just raise your hand. All right, I see the bald guy in the front raising a hand. He's only one. So for those who haven't heard of HoloLens before, and I'm going to have to click on this. I'm going to do a short little demo. It's about 3 minutes, okay? And it's a great little demo into HoloLens, and I'm not sure how well you'll hear this, but hopefully.
Holograms aren't just hype. They're the future of computing. Do you remember movies like The Terminator and RoboCop? Occasionally audiences got to see through the main character's eyes, Robo-vision. You see the real world with a digital overlay that would help inform and orient the cyborg character. Well, in the films, that's all done with movie magic, but we really have that. It's called augmented reality, or AR. And one of the coolest implementations is in car technology. Auto manufacturers have been experimenting with AR for a few years, developing a kind of heads-up display for drivers, so you can get information on your windshield, like changing road conditions, or how fast your car is going, or other data. Meanwhile, there's a little company, you may have heard of it. It's called Microsoft. They unveiled a product called the HoloLens. In fact, I know you guys know about this, because you asked about it a lot. Well, the HoloLens is an AR headset. It's got transparent lenses, so you can see the environment around you, but it can also project images on those lenses, creating the illusion of a freestanding, three-dimensional hologram in your physical space. And you can anchor that hologram to any point within your environment, and then walk around it as if it's a real object, getting a full 360-degree view of it. So this can be used for anything from turning a flat surface into a television screen to seeing what a new table would look like in your living room without committing on the buying part first. But let's say you do commit, and you buy that table, and then you discover that some assembly is required. Well, a product like the HoloLens with the right app could help you put it together. You could get step-by-step instructions, and as you look at all the pieces you've laid out in front of you, it highlights which ones you start with. So you pick those up, and then it tells you what to do with those pieces, making the whole process smooth and painless. This is just the tip of the iceberg for the potential of the HoloLens. And it's not the only augmented reality headset coming out. There's another company called Magic Leap. They got a big boost from Google. They're developing their own AR headset that uses digital light field technology, which is awesome. And what this means is we have all these different companies trying to use different implementations of AR, and whichever one works the best, that's going to become our development experience. All of this is happening right now, but let's look into the future. Think about AR contact lenses. Lenses that have tiny LED lights in them and transparent circuitry that you wear on your eyes, and you get the full AR experience without having to wear a headset, which can create socially awkward situations. Speaking from experience. There are actual companies and research facilities working on this right now, like a lab at the University of Washington. So this could become a real thing in just a couple of years. And beyond that, who knows? Retinal implants, anybody? Just imagine a world where if you want to know something about a person or a place, you just look and the information comes to you. Now granted, this raises questions about privacy and security. And they're important questions that we should answer right now because I believe augmented reality is the future of computing. Speaking of questions, I got one for you guys this week. What do you think is the coolest use of augmented reality? I want to hear your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, make
Pretty cool, isn't it? I mean, it's just amazing. Notice it didn't say anything about being able to interpret the audience's feedback. Well, what you were watching there with HoloLens, that was like so old. That was back in January. You know, this new stuff is new. This just came out. Actually, you know, Microsoft filed a patent, and I'll read it to you. And they probably file 1 million patents a year, but it's just interesting. It says, the patent describes an interesting application for this technology. You're giving a presentation in a room full of people, and you're wearing the HoloLens. The augmented reality headset can interpret visual and audio input, interpret emotional states exhibited by other individuals within a wearer's field of view, and provide the wearer with feedback regarding the subject's emotional state. So basically what it's doing is it's collecting the information. So if there's murmurs, people slouching, not paying attention, you know, you think of it, it's a database, it's data that they're collecting, and they're feeding that data back to you, and it's a static database, and it's basically saying, okay, if you get this, this, and this is the criteria, this is what's happening. It's awesome, you know. Well, think about, you know, when they move from a static database to a dynamic database. What's that all about? That's like Terminator stuff. That's AI, you know, it's learning. It's dynamic type of information that it's learning as it's growing. So it's a great concept. I'm sure it'll have a lot of bugs in it when it first comes out. And no, this isn't a real HoloLens, I made it. But type this into your smartphones. And you can use pen and paper too if you're still in that technology. HoloLens YouTube 2015. Just put in HoloLens YouTube 2000, just HoloLens, you'll find it. HoloLens eye tracking engine. Because that's what makes up, you know, the eye tracking to be able, that's the concept, the eye tracking. A couple other good ones, you know, just for this technology is a YouTube channel called Project Rocket. And Project Rocket, I mean, you just subscribe to that YouTube channel, it's pretty interesting. And Andrew Tarver, another interesting topic on Project Rocket. Okay, so now that I have opened your eyes a little bit, as far as some of the future stuff, you know, this next stuff that I'm talking about should really be a piece of cake. You know, you're probably going to be thinking as far as PPM, oh yeah, that's so yesterday, we did that before, you know, we're going to be doing that next week. Technology.
There you go. Now you're good to move.
Is it moving?
You should be when you do it now.
There we go. All right, I just had to get rid of that top screen. All right, so we talked a little bit about the future. I always think to be able to predict and help understand the future, you got to understand the past. So let's understand a little bit about our past as far as project management. I got some great prizes for these. I left them at home. So, what is the unofficial birth date of project management? Anybody have a guess?
1964.
I was gonna say 65.
I'm gonna guess 40.
You guys are way too young.
I'm gonna guess
2070 BC.
Oh.
Why? Why?
Not that kind.
Because they built the pyramids. That's the time they started building pyramids. Think about the building of the pyramids. They had a project manager that helped build the pyramids. I mean, that was basically, they went back and looked, and so it's pretty interesting. So, when did the term project management first get recognized?
1965.
Close, close. Anybody else? 1954. It was actually a U.S. Air Force general. You know, the project manager, a lot of started it with the military. Bernard Shreve was his name. Basically, it started the term project management. EVM. When did EVM become an essential part of program management and procurement?
Can I say 65 again?
You can, but you'd be wrong. Anybody else? This one is sort of a range, so I'll give you anywhere close.
73.
Yeah, close. Closer.
80.
88? Close. Actually, late 80s, early 90s. And I'll give you an example. It's been around for 1900s. They were using it in factory floors, but in 1989, EVM leadership was evaluated to Undersecretary of Defense for acquisition, thus making EVM an essential part of program and procurement management. Secretary of Defense Dick Cheney canceled the Navy A-12 Avenger II program because of performance problems detected by EVM. Okay, the next one you guys all know. I know everybody knows Henry Gantt, right? When was the Gantt chart developed?
1965.
1917. Henry Gantt. And actually, they first started using it. It was a radical idea at that time, believe it or not, sort of like the HoloLens. And the innovation of worldwide importance came in the 1920s. One of the first uses was on the Hoover Dam project in 1931. And they're still one of my favorite tools today. Okay, somebody better get this one.
Was it 1965?
No. You're close though. I mean, when was PMI first launched?
75. 1975.
No, back in the 60s.
68.
Right before the 70s.
69.
1969. This is a good slide, you know, understanding the past, and I've used this lots. You know, I mean, back to 2570. If you actually go to this trend line down here, there's on here. Maybe I gotta click it again. Oh yeah. All right, the next 5 years in this project management, it provides a link to it. There's a real good link to all the history. But let's talk about the next 5 years. You know, and why it's important. You know, I showed some things as far as the future and technology. I mean, where will our profession be in 2020? You know, and I think that's so important for us to be able to look at and understand, you know, what's happening in the world of technology. Probably can't read this quote since we have a little more technology problems, but let me read it. It says, "A leader is one who sees more than others see, who sees farther than others see, and who sees before others see." Great quote. You know, I mean, you got to be able to understand, you know, and be able to help predict the future. So let's talk about PPM and why PPM. Better yet, why now? You know, why is this becoming such a hot topic and a trend? And it's been around for a while. I mean, it's been different definitions, different understandings of what it is. What I'm going to talk about, you know, is really portfolio management at the C level. You know, when I always say the C level, it's basically at the executive level. CEO, CFO, COO, helping them understand. But it's been around for a long time. I remember doing this, you know, 5 years ago. Seems like a long time ago. But it was also very immature. It was confusing. It was manual intensive as far as, you know, administrative. It just took a lot of information. I mean, it took an army to gather the data. It took an army to help make sure the data was accurate. And, you know, as far as ensuring it was timely, when, you know, 5 years ago was a month behind. You were lucky if you ever be able to report a week behind. So if you had an executive saying, you know, what's the status of this project, a lot of times you're a week behind. What's the status of our financials? You're a month behind. You know, it just takes so long to be able to gather that data. Today's technology gives us the ability to do it so much faster and cheaper and efficiently. So what has changed? You know, just in those 5, 8, 10 years, you know, since PPM was introduced and started, well, let's again learn from the past. Where were we in 2007? You know, how many had smartphones 5 years ago? Smartphones I'm talking about, not rim Blackberries. You know, what happened to them? I was a big Blackberry fan, I loved it, you know? I mean, 5 years ago, since 5 years, just look at the numbers. Now we have over 1 billion touchscreen smartphones. 1 billion. There's over 500,000 apps in the App Store. I mean, 500,000 apps in the App Store. I mean, I'm lucky if I have 10 on my phone. And there's 120 million tablets in the workforce. How many here use tablets in their workforce? Great, that's awesome. I mean, I've been pushing to try to use a tablet in the workforce because it's just so much more convenient than carrying around a clunky laptop, honestly. Remember the days of trying to carry around a desktop?
Or the first laptops.
Yeah, the first laptops too, you know. So what I was saying is, you know, this has impacted our profession. And what we do as project managers, it impacted our workforce. We have to be able to adapt and change. It's funny, I always got to give you the story. I was with my account manager a couple weeks ago, and we were in Charlotte, and basically, you know, we're trying to find our way out of the airport, you know. So it's almost like you had to pull out a map to look at, you know, and trying to figure out how to get there. I'm like, here, let me just punch it in my phone, it'll tell us how to get there. You know, I mean, the technology that can help us and make us so much more efficient, you know, we have to be able to understand that and take advantage of it. Good quote, you know, follow, lead, or transform. It says, organizations are dynamic. They're either progressing or stagnating. The ones that don't change become uncompetitive and unprofitable. It's true. Smart executives are starting to begin to realize that current operations represent what their organizations are today, while their portfolio of projects and programs represent what they'll be in the future. If they cannot see their strategy reflected in their portfolio, they have no chance of achieving that strategy. You'll hear me say that quote, I say it all the time. If you can't see your strategy in your portfolio, you have no chance. You know, it's interesting, people are probably going, man, I don't even know what our portfolio is. Some people don't even have a view of what their portfolio is. You know, and then to be able to say, okay, I can look at this portfolio and say, okay, this is how it maps to this strategy item. This is how it maps to this roadmap item. Wouldn't it be so much more valuable as an employee to know exactly what you're working on and how it maps to that? That's visibility. So what problem does this solve? You know, a lot of people are probably thinking, well, we don't have problems with projects. You know, and I talk to executives, they're always saying, we don't have problems with projects. Our projects, you know, we get them done. We execute them, we get them done, we're great in project management. That's fine. But you may be spending millions of dollars on projects you don't need. How do you really know that you're doing the right projects? That's what PPM is all about. Spending your money wisely. It's all about the investments. So what benefits does it provide? You know, you guys probably pick some of these up, but it allows them to be more competitive. You know, look for new ways on saving costs. How can you save costs while also expanding services? You know, I always call it efficiency and productivity. If you can be efficient and productive, you're going to make more money. Your employees are going to be more happy. Reactive mode to proactive mode. Predictive analysis, another big trend. You know, being able to analyze and have predictions and be able to see the future. You know, having that data for predictive analysis. We have to get out of the mode of reacting to what happens and being able to see what's going to happen. That's all about data and having that information. So the last one is win. You know, I'm sure we all want to do these things. So how do we execute that plan? You know, how do we win? Well, number one, align, making sure that you have the alignment between your strategy and your tactical projects. It says companies who report disconnect between projects and their organizational strategy, so it's a tactical level to the strategic level, 44% of those say their strategic projects were unsuccessful. Their projects may have been successful, but they're going back and say, we didn't really accomplish our strategy. Wow. Measure. Though executives know what they should be doing, 88% say their strategy implementation is important to their organization. I wonder what their other 12% think. You know, I mean, 88%, yeah, that's a good point. But 61% say that their firm struggled to bridge the gap between strategy and its day-to-day implementation. You'll hear me say this over probably about 5 times in this presentation. I refer that to the shop floor to the top floor. You got folks on the shop floor, you got the C-levels up on the top floor, they know what they want, these folks are down here doing it, and they don't have the visibility. It's not the C-level's fault. You know, it's not the shop level's fault. There's a gap, there's a problem that needs to be fixed to raise that visibility. That's what we're going to talk about today. Missed the last one, but I talked about investments. We're going right into that slide, just talking about different investments. And, you know, really it's all about where we're spending our money. You know, you think about your investments, your 401k. Where are you spending your money? Where do you want to spend it? Are you in high risk? Are you in moderate risk? Are you in stable? You know, think of it like your household budget. You got that same picture with your household budget, right? Head down, you know, but what things have to come first? Man, we got to pay the electric bill, you know, we got to pay the food, we got to make the house payment. Those are the rocks, the must-haves. And you got to do those things first. Put the rocks in first, right? You ever see the example with the rock sand? It's a great metaphor. The pebbles, the highly desirable items, yeah, these are nice to have. You want to be able to do that. You got to put those in. And then the sand, you put that in and it all fits. If you do it the other way, what happens? You know, it starts to overflow. So let's talk about these just at a project management, portfolio management level, the portfolio investment categories. Non-discretionary expenses must be accounted for first. Keep the lights on type of thing. And then discretionary items to support the growth and innovation of the business. So you have to determine what percentage. I mean, Gartner does a good job of giving you examples. Here's an industry standard for a financial institution. Usually it's about the same. 50% they're saying is RTB, run the business. 20% is grow the business. 27% is transform the business. So let's say I work for financial institution. Somebody wants to come up with a virtual reality teller, and they're working on that project. They want to spend $20 million on it. That's a transform the business type of activity, isn't it? So when they go through their budget sessions and they got $100 million in their budget, and they want to spend $20 million on that, does it fit into their percentage of what they want to do? You don't want to spend $120 million on transform the business and then you can't run the business. That's when you run the business into the ground, right? Okay, so slides behind. Portfolio management, you guys recognize this triangle? We all should. It's the same triangle we all use. It applies to portfolio management also. Only thing is that you got 500 projects or 200 projects or 100 projects. You only have the 2015 year to get those projects done. You only have a certain amount of resources. You always can go out and get more resources, right? And you want to be able to meet the quality, and basically making sure that it's quality that meets or exceeds the expectations. So you want to be able to optimize that triangle, and optimize what you're doing. If you don't optimize it, what happens? Well, you have bad quality, you have too much work, and you don't get things done. So if you promise your board of directors, okay, this year we're going to get these 10 strategy things done, and you don't do it, you're not going to have a happy board of directors. So looking at the 3 investments, you need to be able to fit them all into this triangle. Run the business, grow the business, and transform the business. Those are your, where you're spending your money. Make sure they fit, otherwise something's gonna suffer. It's either gonna be your time, you're gonna have too much time to get things done. Your resources, that's usually what suffers, isn't it? Because what happens is, I'll give you an example, and we're going to talk about this later, but they come up with these great ideas of grow the business and transform the business. They don't plan properly for run the business. So what happens is those grow the business and transform the business ideas, they work on those up front all those run the business, like compliance things or regulatory things or other things that sort of, they want to do that they have to do, they get pushed off to the end of the year because priorities happen, they want to get this stuff done. And then you got to do them at the end of the year, and everybody's suffering because they want to go on vacation during November and December, right? I see some of you shaking your head, you've probably been through that. I've been through that at almost every client I've worked at. So this is just an example, just basically just what I said, is that the run the business projects must be loaded into the portfolio first. You have to have a plan, and this is all part of the portfolio planning session, is saying, okay, everybody plan, what are all the run the business projects? We're starting our planning for 2016 right now. Okay, we know we have to do tax, we have to do this, we have to do this. We have maintenance that we have to do on our software. We have new servers to buy. We have new things that we need to do. All those things are categories into run the business. Load those in first, then to grow the business and transform the business. Okay, so this all ties to, like I said before, the C-level. How do we get them to understand? They're not at that position because they're stupid, right? I mean, they understand, but it's basically being able to raise that information and give them the data so they can make the decisions. One thing about data, is in the world of PPM, as I said earlier, it's actually worthless if it's not timely, accurate, and reliable. I mean, you're never going to accomplish this if you don't have a way to make your data timely, accurate, and reliable. You'll get killed if you try to. So this is what they want to know. Are we meeting our strategy objectives? What are we working on? Do I need to worry about it? When will it be done? Okay, where can I get the details? So a lot of times the executives, they say, do I need to worry about it? Is there something red? One of our strategy items, is there something red? Okay, now they want the details, and they want certain information. They don't have time to focus on 200 tactical projects. That's why they have lieutenants and they have project managers, they have other people to do that. But the strategy is their responsibility. Everything they do at the strategy level is what they're doing at the shop floor. I use this example. Hopefully I got to click again. Let's see. Yeah. Okay. So basically, you start off, I just use this example when I'm teaching class and just talking to executives. They have their 5 strategy levels, very high level, but this is what they want to do for the year. What do? They send those down to the lines of business, to the different, roadmaps, and they put together their business roadmaps. Again, these, there may be 5 of these. This line of business may have 20 roadmap items that are tied to these strategy items. Then what happens? The roadmaps become tactical plans. So this again is the top floor to the shop floor. This is where you have your 200 plus plans that you're all working on that are tied back to the strategy. The thing within today's environment and what we work in now, in the past these things were pretty static. They could set their strategy for a year and start working on it. The world we live in now, these things change every quarter. Every month. You need the ability, and we're still operating in a model where we have this big ocean liner, and all of a sudden the strategy changes. And trying to change these things, which are the ocean liner, your tactical plans, and make the adjustments and shuffle your resources and make all the changes, by the time it's done, you lose the opportunity. That's where the competition, we talk about being competitive, you don't have it. So let me just show you an example. Examples always help. One of the organizations that we went into, we basically, this is pretty easy. It's an export right out of our tool. If you guys go and look at any PPM tools, at task, plan view, Microsoft project, I mean, they're all over the place. PPM tools, because like I said, they were started in 2007. Now they're realizing with data intelligence, business intelligence, predictive analysis, the ability to gather data, it makes it that much faster. They're trying to capture that market. So this information, you can't see all this, so let me point it out, okay? And you guys will have this presentation to be able to look at it. But all these things were tactical projects. This was our portfolio export of everything we were working on. If you clicked on any of this information, it basically tied it right back to the strategy item. This was enterprise focus, operations, what their strategy item was. This was the roadmap item. So any one of these projects, we knew exactly how it tied back to the strategy, how it tied back to the roadmap, what the rating was. We put a rating on every one of these projects. 5-star, 4-star, 3-star, 2-star. So we knew what 5-star projects have we already completed this year? What 5-star projects are in progress? What 5-star projects haven't been done? So guess what? When they come up with a new project in the middle of the quarter and we rate it, we're able to say, okay, which ones of these do we need to adjust? We can take some resources off some of these 2-star and 1-star projects and move them over here. We have that data. We had the information to be able to do that. And again, this was just an export. And when we first started doing it, this was amazing. When we first started doing that, it was Excel. And then doing all the filtering and doing all that took forever. Then we got a BI guy involved. Bam. I mean, it was a click of a button to be able to get it. It was amazing. I mean, it really, it went from 20 hours a week to a click of a button to get that information.
What tool was that?
That was at task. That was a PPM tool that I used at one of our clients. Yeah, it's pretty slick. I mean,
Workfront now, they changed their name.
Is it?
Workfront.
Okay. Yeah, and there's another one that I used at another client, Clarity.
Yeah.
Whenever I started getting these tools, I started going to their portfolio management section, and trying to find out, okay, what are their capabilities? What can they do? We have plan view where we worked. And again, it's sort of like we have tons of capability within the tool to do these type of things. So again, any good project manager has to gather requirements. This is what we did for our requirements for PPM. Include the rankings of the projects, what is their importance to the strategy, critical, high, medium, and low. Include how the project maps back to the organizational strategy, how it maps back to the roadmap, show which ones are complete, in progress, which ones have not started. These are all things that we need to accomplish, that the executives wanted to see. Include the start and end dates, include the health, include the project owner. That was the accountable party. So if that project's red, boom, they know who to go talk to. Include possible links for each project that allow me to drill down to the details. So they're sitting there on the weekend, and they're on their smartphone, they pull up their portfolio, and they see something that's red, they click on it, and it drills down to the details. Again, if we cannot see our organizational strategy in the portfolio, how do we know if we're truly focused on the right thing? Can't see that down there, but it's a CIO. So this is an example of some of the roadmaps, the dashboards that we provided. Again, out of that previous tool, and some of the BI stuff we did, I said, okay, I want a listing of all the portfolio, all the projects that are complete, whatever projects are live. That was a status for like 2 weeks. We kept, they go live. Which ones were in flight. So this one here, we had 32 projects that were complete for the year. We had 28 that were in flight. We had 3 that were in flight suspended. We had 11 that were approved, not started. Executives like these type of things. But again, how's that built? It's off the data. Overall breakdown by star rating. 5-star, 4-star, 3-star, 2-star, 1-star. How many 5-star projects do we have? 26. 19 4-star, 19 3-star. The next thing you want to see is, okay, they said, I want to know how many of those 5-star you guys got in progress. Help me understand that. 5-star, how about this? Approved but not started. They had 4, at this point, let's say it was April. Not a big worry. Let's say it was June or July. They were able to look at that information. It also told them which ones were going on. They had 15 5-star projects going on in flight, which means they started. Well, we also broke it down to, well, where are they? In started may mean they're in initiation. So we broke it down by the life cycle phase. And you can see the different ratings here. Assessment, we had so many in assessment, so many in planning, so many in execution. So we knew exactly, of those in-flight ones, 15 5-star, there they were. My favorite chart, okay? I was really proud of this one, because basically this was the one glimpse, and again, think into the future. This is a holographic floating around the lobby, or you're walking in through it. It's a holographic that people can look at. There it is. So it basically shows what have we done. This is, we created this weekly, and it was a big chart. It was 2 by 4, and we pasted it up on the wall every week in our IT department, showing what we have done, what we are doing, what we still need to do. by star rankings, you can see the green and yellow, you know, which one. So you may have projects out here that we haven't even started, but they're yellow or red. Why would that be? Because we should have started them, but we didn't. You know, because when you first lay that out, you know, and just getting that picture, you know, took a lot of work. But once we had it and maintained it, it was awesome. So, what is a key factor? I got to ask these questions. What's a key factor in producing this type of information? Yes. Thank you.
1965.
But let's peel the onion a little bit further. Take it further than data.
January 1st, 65.
So it's
Timely data.
it's really, you're getting there. It's really the process, right? I mean, you can't just have data. How do you get the data? How do you gather the data? How do you ensure the data is accurate? It's your data governance process. It's your data gathering process. Those are the things that need to be built. You know, I mean, getting the data, that's the end result. It's really those processes to put in place. The problem is, everybody sort of cringed when I said process. Process. It's an ugly word. People have this perception that process is burdensome, slows me down, administrative. It's not. It's not. I mean, once it's built, it's productivity, it's efficiency. It makes things easier, you know, in today's world. So, told you I'd be rather quick. That covers everything that I really wanted to talk about, you know, in the realm of PPM, giving you the examples a little bit. But I do want to talk a little bit, you know, more about the future and PPM, just share some of my ideas. And I always say, you know, I mean, we talked about processes, you know, the ability to see the future, you know, is only valuable if you prepare for it. You know, if you have that ability that you're able to look into the future and you can see the future and understand, and sort of see what's going to happen, well, it's fine. But if you just sit back there and do nothing, it's not really valuable. But if you start preparing, let's say you don't have the process right now. Well, guess what? You better start building them. Start putting them in place. So where will PPM be in 5 years? This is what I start dreaming about, and this is why my daughter calls me a geek. Yeah, but I think in the technology world, you know, PPM has driven the need for real-time strategy updates. Real-time data. It's driven the need for that. At any time, a C-level will want to know where they're at. They want to be able to pull that up on their phone. And once they get this word out that PPM can allow them to do that, guess what? You know, they're going to be wanting it. Collection of data has gotten a lot easier, as we talked about. So I always look at him, what are some of the biggest pain points? When you guys think of project management, give me one of your pain points.
Lack of resources. Yeah.
Lack of resources. Yeah. Not understand where the resources are, whether resources have availability. How about time tracking? Everybody love doing time tracking? Everybody hates time tracking. Resource managers hate it, project managers hate it, the resources hate it. You know, I mean, every Friday you sit back or whatever and say, what the heck did I do this week? You know, what did I do? What did I do on Monday? You know you spent a lot of time. You know, and a lot of people don't like it. It's a necessary evil in the world of project management. You have to have it. But let's look at the future. You guys all seen the Apple smart watches, the Fit bands. Everybody, who has a Fit band here? You know, I mean, a lot of this tech, just think of that same technology. It can count the number of heartbeats you've had. It understands the calories, the number of steps that you take. You can get real-time updates on a friend that's 1,000 miles away and not there. But we can't track time on a project automatically. Outlook tried to do this, Microsoft tried to do this years ago. They did integration with Outlook. Every time you set up a meeting, you know, basically they're trying to capture a data field. So when you set up that conference call, you set up that conference, it was integrated in project. Never flew. Now think about it. Project XYZ, 5 hours. I mean, you're in a meeting. You set up your calendar. It's automatically integrated in your project time. You know, so that's one of the visions. I'm thinking that, you know, these people are very smart. I'm sure they're going to figure this out. It's a big pain point. Think about if they made time tracking like that. And basically, you would have it daily. You would know, do I have a resource available this week? You know, what is their availability? It also, one other thing, it's sort of, this is my leadership style. When people interview me for jobs or anything, you know, with different clients, I tell them, how do you describe yourself? I say 2 words, demand and confront. And I learned it from a coach that I used to have. And he always gave us the same thing, demand and confront. He would demand excellence, and he would confront when you don't get it. So you think about accountability in the world that we live in, you know, and just even having this, you know what people are doing. Some people don't like the word accountability. I love the word accountability. You know, think about if we had accountability more, you know, at the government level, right? Anybody, can anybody name what our 5 top priorities are from the State of the Union address that we need to work on? See, I mean, we lose track of those things. They change all the time. You know, but we shouldn't. Today, the world we live in, we should have accountability of what we're doing. So don't get me on the soapbox on that. But demand and confront, you know, I mean, everybody, I think employees really want to be good. They want to be excellent. They want to do a good job. And it's our job as leaders to help mentor them, to help coach them. You strive for excellence. You pat them on the back. You encourage them. You motivate them when you get it. When you don't get it, you got to coach them. You got to mentor them. You got to train them. Now, if that continues to happen as a cycle, guess what? You got a bad performer. You know, and you help to understand that. So, this last bit, and I'll leave you with this, sort of recaps, you know, before business intelligence was BI, it was nothing but numbers written on spreadsheets. The actual paper documents. But as technology grew, a little change with how business leaders actually consume the information. They moved from paper to digital. And then when the volume got big enough, they moved the data from desktop spreadsheets into massive table known as a database. In the end, the results were the same. Static information presented in a document, maybe with a few graphs thrown in for a good measure. But you don't need new ways to replicate antiquated business practices. If you can get real-time updates through obscure college friends, lives through social media, then you should be able to access information from your business anytime, anywhere. And I think that's where we're going to be, you know, within 5 years. You know, and so, you know, when I talk about the world of PPM, that's why I think it's such an interesting topic and such a hot topic, because that's also dependent on data. And again, data needs to be what? Accurate, timely, and reliable. Those 3 things. Thank you for your time today and your attention. Have a blessed day. Thanks.